What's up, everybody, and welcome to Servant Studios. My name is Micah, and I am so excited to have you guys here. This is the first video on this channel, at least the first long video on this channel, since you guys got to see me propose to my now fiance. So I have a lot of updates since that moment about a month and a half ago. I am officially a professional videographer, as I have been paid to do video, and I have delivered on that twice. So that is really what this video is going to be, showing you my first ever professional videography gig, how it came about and what I learned from it and how it went. The goal of this channel in general is just to give a fresh perspective to the cinematography, videography, and photography space. I have gotten to see a lot of amazing creators do a lot of beautiful things on YouTube, but I don't see anyone who would approach it the way that I envision to approach it, and I also don't see a lot of people doing it that look like me as well. So I'm excited to bring a different context, a different perspective. I also am going to be bringing you guys on the journey as I go from what I did in the proposal video to, Lord willing, much bigger things. And you guys will get to see all of that on the channel. Hopefully it will inspire you all to chase your dreams as well, as you guys get to see the kind of raw version of it. There's not going to be a lot of like rosy goggles or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you what I do, how it's going, and what I feel like God's leading me to next. Without further ado, I actually got this camera in April that you are seeing me record on now. Shortly after I got the camera, I sent a DM to a motorcycle riding organization asking if I could do drone footage for them. I got my drone in Christmas 2022, but again, if you watch the proposal video, you'll see what happened to that drone. And that was early June. We finalized like the last week of June for a shoot that required me to get on a plane, go to New Orleans, and actually film everything starting June 31st. So I had a very quick turnaround. I did have to come out of pocket $1,200 for the drone. I did do an unboxing video. I have not posted it. If you guys would be interested in seeing an unboxing in the drone that I got, let me know. I could definitely edit it and post it up for you. It is the DJI Mini 3 Pro. Like I said, it was $1,200 because I got the Fly More package. And that was a big leap of faith because right after getting the Ring, $1,200 was a lot of money. Also, to do this shoot, because I didn't have a portfolio or anything like that of my videos that I felt represented what I could do, the deal we did was I actually paid for my flight and they paid for my stay, and I actually did not get directly paid for all the footage I did and all the editing. That is how I kind of got my foot in the door. I will never do that again. It probably took me 14 hours to make the 5-minute documentary that I did, and they never asked me to do it. They actually just asked me for the raw footage, but I decided I wanted to make a documentary to see where my editing skills were and things of that nature. I'll link that in the description if you want to see that too, and you guys will see some clips here and there throughout this video of what I got from there, as well as some of the spec work I've been doing. But it took me 14 hours from the time I started the video to the time I, finished it and sent it out. It also took me at least 8 to 10 hours to go through the 2.5 hours of footage that I recorded when I was in New Orleans. Now, by God's grace, they did make sure I had food to eat, and so they paid for my food, and I got to eat New Orleans food for the first time. This was also my first time in New Orleans in general, so it was kind of cool being able to go to Essence Fest, which is what the event we were all attending was, to be able to go to Essence Fest and get to talk to and interact with videographers and photographers. Just kind of be like, wow, we're here. I saw Oprah speak at Essence Fest like last year, and I always wondered if I would be able to meet her at any point. And she did speak again, and we actually used the police escort that Oprah used, which is crazy. So it's just a lot closer to Oprah than I was last year, and it kind of gives me hope, like maybe I'm going in the right direction with the things that I'm doing. There were some challenges for sure. If you guys watch my vlog from that, which will also be linked below, you'll see all the plane issues I had. Carrying a backpack full of filming gear was a pain in the tail. It was very difficult. And I just had to kind of work past that because I had to pull out almost everything to get through all of the TSA lines and stuff like that. So that was very new for me. Plus, I have multiple laptops for my day job too. So I'm an engineer by day, which is another reason I really wanted to get into film, because I always feel like I've been creative, but in engineering, I don't get to express that as much. But because I'm not like someone with a theater background or an art background, I express video, cinematography, and photography completely different. So I'm excited to see how those disciplines mesh together. After the plane, I got off the plane, man, and I went through like the double sliding doors where they typically have like the ventilation system, and it felt like it was blowing hot air, so I thought it was maybe a mistake. And then I walked outside. It was 3 a.m. when I got to New Orleans, and it felt like it was 100 degrees. Objectively, it said feels like 100 degrees at 3 a.m., which is insane. I also was in a lot of direct sunlight, and for some reason, since I've gotten this camera, I feel like I haven't had to experience a lot of direct sunlight. I've done things like go to Myrtle Beach to practice for going to New Orleans, and it rained the whole time. So I never had that opportunity to actually deal with direct sunlight, and it really tested the equipment I had. Of course, my camera by itself and my lenses by itself were perfectly fine, but the issue is when you have all that direct sunlight, to have a low aperture, and I'll explain some of the technical components of cameras in a different video, but my lenses are 1.4 aperture, 1.8 aperture, things like that. And the first day I was trying to use an ND filter, and I didn't realize, even though my ND filter, which is like sunglasses for your lens that is variable, so I could turn it up and the image would get darker. I'll see if I can show you guys the difference between my ND filter at its highest setting versus at a lower setting. But it really is just sunglasses for your lens. And because my ND filter was a $40 filter, which apparently is a cheap filter, once I had turned that lens up and darkened up that filter, it started having like dark edges around the side of the footage. And I didn't realize that on the first day. So that was a big rookie mistake that I had to try to fix a lot in my editing when I was sending the 2.5 hours of footage back to Los Angeles for the client that I was working with. The real filters, the ND filters that I want to use moving forward are going to be like $200 filters, which is, it just feels very expensive to put on a lens. So it is not my immediate next priority in terms of things I need to buy to keep moving Servant Studios forward. But next time I have a shoot or a professional gig that is outside, I will definitely put that as priority number one to get before I go there, because it would make life so much easier if I had a professional filter that didn't have like a black X if you really took it to the limit. Another learning lesson was my gimbal had issues over and over and over again. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get a better replacement for the Manfrotto system. And for those who don't know the Manfrotto system, if you guys can see that, you see that little screw right here. What happens is you screw that into the bottom of the camera, and I put it on the gimbal, right? And the gimbal is the thing that keeps the camera steady, so that if I'm moving, most of the footage I took of motorcycles when they were riding was when I was in a slingshot as a passenger. So I was moving, it was bumpy, it was hot, like 110 degrees. And what happened is my camera would start turning. And as soon as it started turning, the gimbal got out of balance. And then what was once like this was like this on the highway. So it was just very frustrating because a lot of the trip was only 15 minutes. So I maybe had 30 minutes that I could get good footage, and I could only really get good footage when we passed. And since we were in a police escort, maybe we were able to pass a total of 2 minutes. So messing with the camera going 80 miles an hour was just very, very frustrating. And it's something that I will be working to figure out how I can either change this, change the system, find a replacement for it, or maybe I'm doing something wrong, but it just keeps unscrewing and it's extremely frustrating for what I'm doing. So I would love to learn from you if you guys have a better solution, if there's any professionals in the group, or amateurs who know, you know. But that was a big thing I ran into. A lot of learning. Now, one thing that I did implement that I learned from when I did the proposal video, which again, spoiler, my drone crashed into the water in the proposal video because of the circumstances, is every time I landed my drone, for the most part, I landed it in my hand. I did not try to land it on that hot pavement or anything like that. I just landed it in my hand, and I didn't have any issues with that. I was actually very proud that I had an issue in one stage and I was able to fix it going to New Orleans. Going to Essence Fest, my gimbal ran out of batteries. And my microphones ran out of batteries. I had a backup pair, but I left it at the hotel room. So that was another kind of rookie mistake type thing. That will never happen to me again. I've never had the microphone run out of batteries, but I've also never been shooting for 9 hours. The most I've been shooting is probably 6 hours. So doing that and realizing how important it is to make sure my audio is good at all times, make sure nothing's peaking, was something I already knew, but there was a couple things that I could have done differently, such as make sure I always have both mics, and I check that because it is 100% necessary. And there are some videos that I got that would have been made better if I had the audio for it, which was a little disheartening when I was going through that 8 to 10 hours of time dissecting footage and trying to figure out what I needed to keep, what I needed to throw away. Some things had to get thrown away because they didn't make sense without sound. I noticed that people did treat me a bit differently. I wore a yellow vest, so like I said, I was with the motorcycling group at Essence Fest. I was not an Essence Fest hired photographer or videographer, but most people were treating me as if I were because I had my yellow vest, which you guys will see in this video when I'm doing drone stuff. And the only reason I wore it was for safety, but I also knew that it would give a different type of look and it would just make me look more professional. And a lot of things in this world, as I'm learning, deal with how people perceive you, not exactly with what is true or what is not. So it did keep me safe, but it also gave me a professional look, which made me less uncomfortable, or which made me comfortable to film people in public and take pictures of people in public, because they knew I wasn't just some rando doing it, but like it gave me like a little bit of authenticity and validity to be actually doing that there. I got some beautiful videos and a couple nice photos of people at Essence Fest. It was amazing just being there with the extremely high ceilings, the beautiful colors, the different brands and companies that I didn't know would be at like a Black people event like Coca-Cola and McDonald's. And I mean, I know they do like money, but I wasn't expecting to see, 40-foot tall golden arches talking about black is golden and stuff like that. I wasn't expecting that. So that was pretty refreshing to see. The editing really forced me to grow up quick. A lot of the drone footage does look a lot better if you do things like speed ramp, as you'll see here. And I had to kind of learn that on the fly. A lot of the editing I did for the documentary video that's on the Isoclosure channel and the vlog, I learned while I was doing it. So I really did use this trip to buff up my editing skills and get myself to a place that I was a lot more proud of, and also a little bit surprised that I was able to grow so quickly. And my dad's like, he just was blown away by it. And my dad is someone who's very honest. So to have someone who is so honest talk about it so highly, about like the production quality and stuff like that, it did make me feel really good. Of course, with the ND filters and certain footage being a little darker than I would like, some of the colors not matching really well, it did point to a couple things that I do want to work on moving forward, like my color correction and my color grading. Of course, I could just use the LUT file with the color grading, but or with the color correction, but I also want to be able to know how to do it myself, and I definitely want to know how to apply a color grade. For those who don't know what that means, the first day I was on the trip shooting, I did try to shoot video in log footage, or another way to say that is raw footage, aka you take away a lot of the color and the saturation and the contrast. And what that does is it helps your camera save more data as opposed to giving the colors that the camera sees by itself. That way, in post-production, you can add more of that data, more of those colors, and get richer tones and things like that, which ironically, the average person doesn't know or probably care about. The average person is more likely to see the color grade than they are to see the color correction. So one thing I had learned from a YouTuber was, it looks good either way. Of course, it's more higher level to do the color correction. But once I realized my color correction skills were not on point, I recorded the rest of the trip in standard, just with the camera's color science, my Sony camera, which again is linked below. That color science I think is gorgeous, especially on black people's skin, which is a big reason I shoot with it a lot. So I think it turned out good, and I am excited for where I can take it to next. Big for my confidence. It was very tiring, I will say, to go through a lot of that footage. I had to send it to the client. They had to send it to their sponsors. There are some things I had to take down. There are some things I had to take out. And that was the first time I really was, in a way, at the mercy of someone when it came to posting on my YouTube channel. So that was new, and it probably did take a little bit of juice out me at one point, but by God's grace, I was able to get back on it, because the thing about discipline is discipline carries you through when motivation stops. So I was able to finish that, and I'm very proud that I did finish it. Moving forward on the channel, I have aspirations to do bigger projects, and I'm really getting into cinematography, which is a different type of thing than videography, which is more just video. Cinematography is like the feel you get, that's like the color grading, the framing, the composition, all of that. And I learned that some of the most beautiful things that I've seen on screen had directors of photography. So I figured I probably should learn photography if I really want to be good at cinema, because a lot of things that make one good at photography in terms of what they're able to see, the framing and things like that, are what helps make beautiful movies and shows and things like that. So I am now working to be a professional photographer. And when I say working to be, I mean I am a paid photo shoot away. I have been working a lot on my photography, and as humbly as I can say it, I feel like there are people I know who can make a living off of it, that I'm like, okay, I can do this, if that makes sense. So that's encouraging to me, and it just makes me more hungry to keep going after it. So I pray that over the time that you guys watch this channel, you get to see what it looks like to grow from someone proposing to their fiance and losing the drone to, I don't know, interviewing Oprah. We'll see. Or making a documentary about Oprah or something like that. That would be really dope, wouldn't it? But I'm going to keep sending DMs. I think I never expected for that DM to be answered. The client had over 50,000 Instagram followers. So I'm used to people with, 1,000 Instagram followers not answering me back. So to get a response and actually get to do a contract for the first time, shout out to the JR group who really helped me a lot with that. It was really, really a blessing and a great opportunity. And I'm just going to follow the method. So I worked and I prepared for that event. Now I'm working on doing spec work. And what that means is, if I want to go do a commercial for Nike, but I can't get in contact with Nike necessarily, then I will do a fake commercial for Nike or for whoever, a shoe commercial, my version of it. And that will be my portfolio work, because I was not able to get the job. So it's almost like hiring yourself on your own internship. And that's the thing you can do with this discipline. Because the thing about it is, people get to see your work, and when they see it, that is your validation. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'm excited to keep sharing what I'm working on with you all. And until next time, God bless, and chase your dreams. Come chase yours. I'll chase mine. We'll run next to each other, and we'll keep encouraging each other along the way. So I love you, and I'll see you next video.